Eighth graders, welcome back. Today we're continuing talking about Spanish Louisiana. Today we're going to look at how the population trends changed under the Spanish colonial government. Our goal for the day is to be able to describe the motivations and impact of different cultural groups and their migrations to Louisiana. So the compelling question that's really going to drive us through these notes and through your document analysis is the question, did the Acadians come to Louisiana by choice or by force? So were they pulled to Louisiana for good reasons, or were they pushed out of their homes for bad reasons? We're actually going to learn about a couple of different different groups that came during this time, but your documents will all be focused on the Acadians. So a little bit about Spanish colonial Louisiana and its population. Under the Spanish rule, the population of Louisiana grew and grew. This was in large part due to new migrant groups that traveled to Louisiana during this time. So if you look at this chart here, we see that 1777 was the last year that France owned the colony. 10 years later, a little over 10 years later, the Spanish managed to almost double the population, and we see it continued to grow under Spanish colonial times. This line here, again, is showing us when Louisiana becomes a Spanish colony. So some people were pulled to Louisiana. That means that people found a positive reason that made them decide to pack up wherever they were living and move to Louisiana. When we talk about pull factors, we're talking about positive reasons to move to a new place. And so here are some examples of what pull factors can be. You could be pulled to an area because it's safe, or pulled to an area because there are new opportunities. A positive reason to move is known as a pull factor. Some people came to Louisiana, though, because they were pushed from their homes. So when you were pushed from somewhere, you are leaving that area for a negative reason. Examples of push factors are poverty. So if there's very little money in the area where you live, fear, you may fear for your life, you may be in danger, disasters. With Hurricane Katrina, a lot of people were pushed from New Orleans for a while because their homes had flooded. So pull factors are positive reasons why you would choose to go to a new area. Sometimes people only leave for pull factors. They're pulled to a great place. Push factors are negative reasons why you have to leave your home. Some people only move to new areas because they've been pushed from their homes. So let's talk a little bit about the different groups that migrated to Louisiana. The first group we're talking about is the group that you saw in your compelling question. Those are the Acadians. French Acadians from Canada were welcomed into the Spanish colony after the British expelled them from their homes. So if you think about being expelled from school, you're kicked out, you can't come back. The same thing happened to the French colonists who were living in Canada. So these colonists ended up settling in the Acadian Triangle. Today they're called Cajuns. So if we were to go to the Acadian Triangle in Louisiana today, we would notice that they speak what's called Cajun French. It's a dialect of French that was created by the people who moved to the Acadian Triangle. So a little bit more about why they're coming here. So this is the map we looked at yesterday. It's the result of the French and Indian War. We know one impact of the French and Indian War is that Louisiana becomes Spanish instead of French. Another impact, so the Acadians were living around here in this orange area, so that's a French land. After the French and Indian War, who owns that land? The British own the land. The British now own the land, and they tell the French colonists, you must pledge loyalty to the British crown. If you don't, you must leave. The Acadians decide, I would rather leave than pledge loyalty to the British, and so they do leave. And they go to two different areas. So here's where they start. Some of the Acadians just go back to France, but many of them get on a boat or on a ship and they come to Louisiana. And again, the Spanish colonial government welcomes them there because they're trying to increase the population. Another group that migrated to Louisiana is a group called the Isleños. So it's spelled like Islenos, but it's pronounced Isleños. The Isleños were Spanish-speaking, so that was good for Spain. They were trying to increase that Spanish-speaking population since the French are kind of, angry that the Spanish owned the colony to begin with. They come from the Spanish Canary Islands. So here, if we're looking at this little map right here in the center, The Spanish Canary Islands, you can see, are some islands right off of Africa, but they're pretty close to Spain. They're a ship ride away from Spain. So looking now at this map all the way on the right, that means the Canary Islands are right around here. The Canary Islanders came across the Atlantic Ocean and went to Louisiana. They settled largely in what's known as St. Bernard Parish. So if you just go down St. Claude and keep going, you'll eventually make your way into St. Bernard Parish. Today, many elements of Islanios culture are still around. These are some people dressed up for the Islanios festival. The Islanios don't actually dress like this anymore, but they'll dress up like this for a festival or if they're trying to celebrate their heritage. And finally, the last group that migrated during the Spanish colonial period were the Germans. The Germans came and settled along mostly the Mississippi River. We called that today and back then the German coast. Now, one of the reasons why we don't hear a lot about German culture in Louisiana today is that most of these German residents assimilated into the colony's culture. To assimilate is to if you're assimilating into someone's culture, you're adopting their culture. So the Germans came, and rather than hanging on to their culture like the Islanios did and the Acadians did, the Germans just adopted French culture. So over time, they all just started speaking French and acting like the French colonists. But still, this German coast is known for having that fertile soil along the Mississippi River and being able to trade along that river with other nations. All right, you have 3 questions. When you're finished, you may end the video. Have a great day.